Arelle is a advanced XBRL open source platform that will be used in this challenge process to show the calculation of ratios and derived data from SEC filings. A quick overview: it's a fully integrated XBRL platform. It allows the processing of all of the different features of XBRL and its extension modules, such as formula and versioning and rendering. It can be used in a desktop manner, which is being demonstrated here, as well as integrated into a workflow either by being used on a command line basis from programs such as Java and .NET, or as a web service. And it has full support for integrating with API programming access and a pretty elaborate extensions framework. After you have downloaded and installed Arelle, we are going to install the Sphinx plugin, which provides support for the Sphinx business rules languages. So after loading, under Help is an entry to manage plugins. When that loads the first time, the plugin manager will show an empty set of plugins listed, and this button called Find Plugin Modules Locally will activate a file chooser so that one can choose the plugins to take. There are quite a few. We're not using them here, such as for SEC filings, but instead, for this demo, select the examples plugins Sphinx directory, and in there, if we double click the init box, or init and then open, that will install the Sphinx 2.0 processor plugin, which when I close this dialog, it will automatically reload Arelle to add these features to the menus. So first it reminds us that if anything was open, it's going to be reloaded. Now when Arelle is loaded, there will be options such as compiling Sphinx to formula and loading Sphinx files. But what we're going to do differently is process the RSS feed from the SEC and apply the Sphinx rules to a number of different filings in batch. So first, selecting Tools, RSS Watch, and Options, there's a RSS feed processing control, and on that, the first entry to select a feed, we will select the entry for USS SEC, US GAAP filings. The second thing that we want to do is enter the file for Sphinx rules. So after you've downloaded the Sphinx rules in the link on the challenge web page, you can open a file choosers to select them. I've already done that. That file is called US GAAP Ratios Example. And the second thing that will be to click this checkbox that says to validate Sphinx rules. Okay, now we will begin the RSS feed download by selecting RSS Watch and Start. This will cause the feed to be downloaded, and then one by one, as the feed is downloaded, each of these examples will be processed against the Sphinx rule. So for this first case, American Care Source Holdings was processed, and the rules were run to show the document type. This was a Form 10K, and the period, and then these some of these ratios: a capture ratio, a current ratio, a working capital ratio, we'll see that the current ratio is reported for a 2012 period and also for a 2011 period. The numbers were automatically aligned up by Sphinx. Working capital, cash ratio, and so forth. So if we scroll down further in the filings, we will find the information gathered one by one as multiple companies are checked. By going in the RS Watch and selecting stop, then we can turn this off. I will then switch to the view of the rules to show what was in the sample file because it is only a sample. And in the most simplest of reporting rules, we wanted to print out the name of the party filing and the document type and the document period end date. So in these cases, the Sphinx construct was simply the word report and then a name to show which showed up on the left here under in the square brackets of the print, and then the fact value to be reported, such as this case the DEI entity registrant name. For the very first case of a ratio, that was to pick up the value of current assets and divide it by the current liabilities and to print the result out. Sphinx has a lot more capabilities that are referenced in a blog on the web page and also referenced in its documentation. In this file, I provided two references to papers on doing ratios. One of them is by Roger DiBersini at the 2011 Kansas University Conference, and the second one is by Charlie Hoffman, where he provides an ontology of key gap ratios, and that's what was used to derive the ratios in this filing. And the Sphinx blog that is referred to on the web page entry for Arelle also has additional entries. Arelle can, in this case, execute these Sphinx programs directly. It has lots of other features. For example, it can translate these Sphinx ratios into XBRL's formula language, which looks much more complex. Formula language to print the current ratio it does that by generating things like a value assertion, a set of fact variables that name the items they want, and assets, liabilities, and use the XPath language to come up with the expressions that are needed, and something called XBRL messaging, that in this case just to provide a simple output. But most people feel that the notation in Sphinx is more suited towards business reporting. So just to finish up, to go back to the presentation, the goals of the Arelle project were to respond to a call for open source XBRL facilities, and to do that in a manner where the complete spectrum of XBRL needs were accommodated. Particularly important, in addition to business processing today, is the use of rendering such as the table link base, and in Europe and Asia, the XBRL formula processing. And this was done in a very extensible manner. Part of the reason for open source is that when the project began, there was no commercial return seen on adding new features such as versioning and XBRL formula, and this made progress difficult. And an area called XBRL abstract modeling, we're exploring some basic ways to extract the semantical information from filings to allow cross-company filing. And doing this in the open source environment gives us a way to bring these features to you in a tool such as Arelle. Thank you very much.